Welcome to the Eltropy Exchange podcast, where leaders of community financial institutions connect, learn, and stay ahead. In each episode, we sit down with industry executives, innovators, and experts for candid conversations about the challenges and opportunities shaping CFIs today. At Eltropy, we believe conversations matter. Let's dive in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the latest episode of the Eltropy Exchange. My name is Michael Pupil, Vice President of the Collections Business Unit at Eltropy. And today I am excited because an individual who is normally sitting in the seat that I am sitting in today is now in the hot seat. And if you're viewing this, you know that I have somebody on that needs no introduction. If you are listening to this, I will give you the heads up. I have brought with me on today's episode is none other than Michael Lawson. Michael Lawson is the host of the credit union's only video talk show, CUbroadcast. He brings more than 25 years of journalism, PR, and marketing experience, also an extensive background within financial services and industry stemming back into the mid-90s, working at Jack Henry Scimitar, establishing his marketing firm DML Communications back in 2002, and starting CUbroadcast. My God, it's been 15 years, back in 2010 already, hosting more than 8,000 video interviews. Mike, is that correct?
That is correct. Unbelievably so, yes.
Unbelievable.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Time flies when you're having fun. I got the chance to, well, I've seen you at many events, but we got the chance to spend a little bit of time together. You also MC at a number of different industry events, which you happen to do for us. You speak a lot on video, journalism, PR, marketing, social media, a lot of things and topics relating to credit unions. But this is my favorite. In his spare time, teaches media relations at the University of California at San Diego. And here's the part where I think it's super funny. He is the husband to a gorgeous wife, a father of 5 fabulous kiddos, including a set of twins, that enjoy surfing, skiing, swimming, mountain biking, and kind of likes running. So no disrespect to your wife. I absolutely believe she is gorgeous, but those are your words, not mine. And I will be happy to echo them for you, Michael.
I married well above my pay grade for her, well above my boxing weight for sure. Yes, way above.
I love it. I love it. And those are the best kind. Those are the ones that support and push and get you to the next level. Well, Mike,
indeed. And even better here, we're both Michael. So no name tags required. All the cool guys are named Michael, right?
Squared. We'll just jump right into it. Well, this is a treat for me because, the years that I've been in credit unions, your name has been, popping up all the time with the content that you release. And, maybe what I would love to do and how I normally go to credit union executives is, take me back into the past for the first foray into credit union land or financial services. And so this is an interesting one, and where you did work for Scimitar for a period of time. Take us back to the beginning of Mike Lawson's journey in, PR, marketing, in financial industry, especially with credit unions.
Well, getting my start. Well, I mean, to take it back just a little bit before Scimitar, I was a reporter working for a community newspaper here in San Diego and absolutely loving it. But if anybody knows anything about first-year reporters, they don't get paid nothing, if that makes sense. So I had to go kind of get a real-ish job, and that job happened to be Scimitar, and it was in the marketing department. And the gentleman who hired me, John Sanfilippo, who founded Finopotamus, was the one who helped me get started in it all. So I have to give all my thanks to John for helping me get my start in credit union land. So we were the dynamic duo in the marketing department there at Scimitar for many moons. And and then I left Scimitar, and that's kind of how I cut my teeth on credit unions. I mean, I knew a little bit about them before going into it, but so obviously learned a lot during my, I think, 6 or 7 years at Scimitar in the marketing department there. So I learned a lot during those years, and I learned what a fabulous industry this is and how unique it is, especially in the realm of collaboration, where you have, organizations who talk to each other and help each other. I mean, name another industry that really does that overtly, so very few, if any. So credit unions, really stood out. And so I just went, whoa, this is super refreshing. So that's kind of how I got my start in credit union land.
I can't echo that more. You're right. I don't think that there is any other industry that shares, best practices, tips and tricks, trials and tribulations as openly and as honestly as the credit union space. And when I say that, meaning with the intent to help another organization do things better or faster than the experience that you had, and really trying to help what would be seen as competition. But credit unions very rarely see other credit unions as competition. They see them more as brothers and sisters.
Yeah, it blew me away because I came in from the semiconductor. I also worked in the semiconductor industry for a little while where nobody talked because there's obviously millions and millions of dollars at stake if somebody spills a secret or some sort of trade secret or something like that. So it was really refreshing being in this industry where people were just open to talking about whatever, and just kind of help. Hey, what's the issue you got going here? Let's help you out, so really refreshing.
I agree. And in that vein, Mike, I've got to say this is a real treat for myself because part of the Eltropy Exchange's podcast's birth, came from the earlier days when I was at Lexop with the team and we started the Connect and Collect podcast. But in truth, a lot of it was actually inspired by you.
Oh, wow.
A lot of the conversations that you were having and the interviews that you were having. And we said, yeah, you know what? We want to take this one step further and kind of focus on this. And when we reached out to you, true to that form of collaboration, you said, yeah, sure, I'll be on the other side of the microphone for once. It is a treat to have you on with us. And so take us to the early days of CUbroadcast circa 2009, 2010, right at the beginning. What was that like?
Yeah, that was basically an idea I had because I always wanted to go back into my being in the marketing department at Scimitar. Was obviously it was great, and doing some PR for other companies and things like that was great and everything. But I always wanted to go back to my roots and do journalism. I have a degree in broadcast journalism from San Diego State University, so why not use it? So I came back to the credit union industry, and I just saw that nobody was doing video at the time, and this is back in 2009, 2010. And I discovered this app that worked with Skype that made this split screen that we're also used to on Teams, and we're on Riverside right now, or whatever
media you
Zoom,
use.
Whatever video platform you're on. So anyway, so I tried to experimented it with my brother and some friends. I'm like, hey, this thing kind of works. So I just went, hey, you know what? Let's see if this works. So literally, so I, called up a few of my contacts in the credit union industry and said, hey, you guys want to be my guinea pigs and be some of the first interviews on this thing that I call CUbroadcast? And they're like, yeah, sure. How's it work? So yeah, and that's kind of how it started. And this is all and to throw another wrinkle in the whole thing, this is a month before our twins were born. So they're 14 now, going on 15, obviously. So yeah, so I don't know why I started a new business, at
Perfect
this time.
timing. Yeah.
Perfect timing. Yes, I was thinking clearly, as you can tell. Yeah, so that's kind of how it started. So I just kind of connected with some folks and, experimented with the technology at the time. And back in those days, this is where if anybody remembers, 2010 and, this is kind of the infancy of video, although YouTube was still really popular then. And that's kind of what's inspired me as well. The growing popularity of YouTube went, let's try this video thing and see if it works. So yeah, but the only problem at that time is the bandwidth. There was nothing. So maybe if I was lucky, 50% of the calls would work. So I called somebody, and you'd be doing an interview and halfway through it would just cut out, or people would just freeze. And we take this for granted now. This face-to-face call now is just that we don't think, twice about. Back then it was like, oh gosh, please work, please work, please work, So, but as time went on and the bandwidth got better and, went 3K, 4K, 5K, all that type of stuff. So it's gotten much, much better now. So very rarely does a call cut out.
Well, kudos to you, because back in 2010, while, YouTube was definitely around, it does not look like what it looks like today. And so,
sure.
Definitely ahead of the trend. And those 5 magical words that you say, and if anybody listens to you really close, you do say it every once in a while. Let's see if this works.
Right.
And I think that curiosity, that spirit that you have, that genuine curiosity that you've got, let's just see if it works. Like, what's the worst that happens here?
Exactly.
And oftentimes I think you find success in what it is that you're looking at. 15 years, it couldn't have been all sunshine and roses. Walk us through some of the trials and tribulations of CU Broadcast and how you got over them, and what you did, and how you've persevered, because anything that has lasted 15 years comes with a tremendous amount of work, no doubt, and a lot of things that none of us see behind the scenes. And so
yeah, it's
fucking prod. Yeah.
Michael, it's been a process. Let's put it that way. Lots of failures, lots of things, lots of times me falling flat on my face doing things. But again, it's all around the mantra of like, let's see if this works, So again, probably the biggest hurdle was the video call, was getting over that hurdle. Okay, will we make it through 10 or 15 minutes of this call? So that was the biggest hurdle, I would say, in the beginning. And then probably the other one was like convincing people to come on the show, because at the time, nobody was doing video, and then to do a video interview when we weren't so used to being on. I mean, like today, we're all so used to being on camera now because of our phones and Zoom calls and team calls and stuff. So we're all so used to it now. But 15 years ago, we weren't. And then people were really nervous about coming on video and being interviewed. And so that was a big hurdle too, is convincing people to come on. So that took a little convincing. So those are probably the two biggest hurdles or the biggest challenges. Yeah. The technology, and then convincing people that, hey, this is a cool thing. Hop on board. So so those off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a lot of other technological stuff that had to be, lighting and sound, and that's still a work in progress, obviously. But so those are the two biggies, I would say.
Well, I got to say, after over 8,000 interviews that you've conducted, do you still find that those are your two major challenges today? I feel like everybody in the industry knows who you are. You're that name and that person that at every event, I think, transcends either the topics. You'll get conferences that are more tinted towards collections or lending or etc. And you seem to be everywhere all the time. Do you find it easier today to get those individuals to dive into?
Yeah, now that we have kind of a reputation, I guess, under our belt, where we're not doing any like gotcha journalism, we're not like trying to, peel back the onion layers and find out what's the dark story behind it. My philosophy from the beginning was to do positive. I mean, let's let the news folks do the news stuff, and they do it really, really well. The Creighton Times, at the time, Creighton Journal, and a number of other folks, CU Today and CU Daily, all those folks, they do a fabulous job covering the news, and that's your lane, and I'm going to let you do it. So my whole thing was like, let's keep it positive. Let's interview people, get their personalities out there, let their expertise shine. Let's see if we can kind of adopt that mantra of collaboration as well, or people helping people. So let's let other credit unions come on and share their case study, problem solution results that can be shared with other credit unions, and then go, oh my gosh, we can do that too, type of thing. So that was kind of my whole thing going in to CU Broadcast, was keep it positive, or for the most part, keep it positive. Yeah, there's some times where you got to discuss the issues and get a little serious sometimes, but we like to keep it light most of the time. I call it infotainment. Deliver the information in an entertaining manner. So that seems to work out really, really well. So yeah. And that's helped out people come on the show as well. People aren't like, oh my gosh, he's going to attack me or something like that, or try to corner me on some issue. No, we want to talk about the issues. Sure, we want to bring that stuff to light, but we want to bring it in a positive, and then how we can keep the industry moving forward at the same time.
Well said. That word that I don't know if you created it or if it's in there, infotainment. I know that you've spoken quite a bit about that, that line, or infotainment with purpose, trying to, kind of engage credit union leaders to kind of talk about what it is that they're doing, both the good and the bad. And most of the time it is easy to really get sucked into the hard stuff or the heavy stuff. I think that's what really sells a lot.
Yep.
I got to tell you, I feel like credit unions and some of the regional banks, they tend to deviate more towards the positivity side. So I think you might be onto something. Yeah. In terms of, balancing those insights, how do you pick your content, or does it just kind of come up as the conversations that you're having and you just kind of spark into something, or is everything done by design ahead of time? How do you approach the interviews or the conversations that you have with prospective leaders in the industry?
It's very unscientific, Michael. No, my main requirement
Thank God,
yeah,
because I feel the same.
There's no super secret type of thing. It's all, my main requirement is that it's timely. Okay, we want to capture, obviously AI is the big thing right now, and there's so many other trends and issues going on in the industry right now, fraud and stuff. So we want to do stories on that type of stuff, keep it very timely, topical. Yeah, so that's probably my main one. Whatever's happening right now or whatever you can foresee coming down the turnpike, so to speak, we want to do just to kind of keep people on the cutting edge, pardon the 90s term there. But yeah, so we want to, I mean, whether it's leadership, lending, operations, what have you, whatever's, the timeliness is really my main thing. And then obviously there's other news values or that we want to cover too, but that's my main one.
Well, my goodness, if we go back in time, I mean, right at around the 2010 was the mortgage meltdown was kind of coming to a close. There were changes already being put in place. 2010 was probably the start of where now the market would be on an upslope for the next, 10 years until COVID, kind of hit.
For sure.
And so, maybe over the course of those 15 years, what have these interviews, kind of really revealed with, leaders in the industry? What have you found as some of the major trends, or, are there any, kind of correlations between 15 years ago to today, or is it just we're always responding to whatever is the newest challenge that's coming around the corner?
Well, what's always stood out for me in this industry in particular is that, again, I'm keep like a broken record here, but it's the collaboration. It's the willing to help that really, it almost, I mean, even to this, after 15 years and 8,000 interviews, it still is almost surprising or shocking that somebody is like so willing to lend a hand to somebody else in this industry. Whereas again, you look at other industries where it's very cutthroat, very competitive. I mean, it is competitive in this industry. There's this thing called co-opetition that a lot of credit unions are experiencing. But for the most part, it's really refreshing, especially when we see all the negative news and stuff out there that you alluded to earlier, that this industry seems to be, for the most part, kind of separated from that garbage, And so for me, that's the really refreshing, really fun part about it, that everyone's so willing to collaborate and talk about their problems, talk about their issues, and talk about how they can resolve it, or go to somebody else and, hey, what are you doing to resolve that? So that's been a consistent theme all of, these 15 years for sure. So, and that kind of keeps me motivated and keeps me inspired to cover this industry. Obviously, the technology has changed a whole bunch. Leadership has changed, the revolving door of, leaders, moving on to the next chapters of their life, and then the new folks coming in and doing their thing, which is always exciting. And then obviously the regulation, all the changes, that soap opera that's going on in DC, so that's always exciting. So that's always a constant. So yeah, there's all those types of things. But I think the one big thing is it's really just super cool to see people sharing and caring, if you want to use that cliche, if you will. So, and that's
you're spot on. I mean, I don't know if there's any chapter meetings or leagues that don't start with the "Don't tax my credit union" slogan that's happening right now.
Yep.
What is really interesting is the amount of conversations, and you're spot on. And this is probably what makes this so fun, is that in the interviews that I've been doing, I'll give you a great example. Park Broom from Loyalty Credit Union, he's the CEO there. His first job while he was still working or studying full-time, but working part-time, he was a teller in a credit union.
Yeah.
Michelle Perry, who's an AVP of ABNB, started at the same thing. She was a teller in her first, kind of role at a credit union. And then, as the career progresses, the different levels that are taking place, and credit unions tend to have that long tenured, relationship between the individual and the industry, 30, 35 years. And so they've seen a lot. Right. We were joking around about those little cue cards that we used to file alphabetically, and made us all wonder if everybody actually does know the alphabet and how technology kind of jumps in. But this is where I see, what you do and the interviews that you provide so incredibly helpful, because while the industry is really supportive over sharing and collaboration, at least I've been seeing it more and more difficult for credit unions to get out there to the traditional conferences, to be able to listen to a lot of these sessions and case studies and things like that. So what you do is, you provide that easy access for these interviews to take place. And so what was that in your mind in 2010, and that really just hasn't changed in the last 15 years? Or maybe I'm just picking a moment in time where this benefits, the argument that I'm making up.
No, I'm all about efficiency and doing things because I'm a one-man circus. So I'm all about creating processes or just kind of constantly refining. I mean, even today, I'm still refining my processes and procedures and all that type of stuff to be even more efficient as I possibly can be. And so doing these remote type of, back in the day when you would want to do a video interview, you had to bring in a whole camera crew, lights and sound, and it would just annihilate your day. And so you couldn't get anything done if you wanted to be interviewed. And even an interviewer, I mean, it's a whole day thing. So I went, oh my gosh, I can interview Michael Pupil. I can do an interview in 10 minutes. He's in his office, wherever you are in the country, and I'm in my office, wherever I am in the country, and we can be done in 10 or 15 minutes, and you can get on with your day, and I can get on with my day. So, I mean, how cool is that? And to do it on video. So that was one of the main things there. The other thing that I think I forgot to mention before, it was like, the other thing I wanted to do with CUbroadcast and still want to do is capture people's personalities. For years, I would read stories in all the trade magazines and very informative, very cool stuff. And I'd see all these people quoted in there and like, but what is this person really like? So it was really cool to get these people on the show and bring out their personalities. And I think that kind of helps the industry too, because once you see somebody talk and you can kind of have that connection, and then you see them at a conference and go, oh my gosh, I saw you on such and such, or I heard your podcast or whatever. There's that instant connection there that you don't, I mean, I'm still all about the written word. Writing is my first love. And I'll never stop writing, but there's not that visual connection or that audio connection that you get with, doing a podcast or a video interview. So that was one of the other things I wanted to do is like, I want to capture the personalities of some of these folks that will help them connect better in the industry too. So that was a big part of it too.
You are so right. And the moment that you said that, I immediately thought of a few people. And I know that you know some of these individuals. I'll mention Shannon Stewart from Southland Credit Union. I mean, talk about such a wonderful personality, such a warm personality. I'll throw another one out there, Maria Martinez, the CEO of Border FCU.
Oh, yeah.
What a little troublemaker she is. She loves to tease me. And if Maria, you're listening to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so what a great, group of executives. And yeah, I think to be part of an industry for, 25, 35 years, in some cases 40 years for some executives, you do have to have a tremendously strong personality where it is likable, because you're never going to survive in this industry if you're not a people person, because that is such a huge element to what it is that we do. You do a segment, kind of like the peer stories, and you kind of highlight both on the vendor side as well as on the credit union side. Walk me through a little bit about why that matters. Why did you position it this way? Like, why would you encourage, both the vendor side as well as the CU side to continue to engage in this, story-led engagement, as you put it? Where do you see the biggest benefit to that?
Stories make the world go round. Who doesn't want to hear a good story? Especially my favorite stories are case studies, like I mentioned before. I love listening to a credit union's progression of, oh my gosh, we had this issue and we couldn't figure it out. And then ABC company came along with their solution and we adopted it and we brought it in-house, we implemented it. And 6 months later, here's our results. I love the problem solution results. Those are hands down some of my favorite stories. So I really love and I love delivering those too, because I get so much great feedback from those. If I'm at a conference doing my thing at a conference, whatever, I'll get people who walk up to me, oh my gosh, thank you so much for airing that one episode. We learned so much. And we called up the company and said, hey, can you help us out as well? So it encouraged a little bit of business as well. So there's nothing wrong with that. But the bigger picture is that somebody created a solution to help out. And that person saw that episode and go, oh my gosh, we could use that piece of technology, or we could use that piece of whatever, or that consultant or something like that. So yeah, so that to me is that's one of my biggest rewards, when somebody comes up to me and goes, oh my gosh, we saw that and we implemented that. So kind of a two-way street there, that the credit union benefited obviously, and then the vendor obviously benefited, but the bigger benefit is that the member, the three-way street that we talk about every now and then.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And so I'm just going to put it out there for the group. Listen, if you're on the credit union side listening to this and you have a story to tell, reach out to Mike. I think, understanding the problem, what the solution was that you put in, and
Yeah. Yeah.
sharing that experience is exactly what other credit unions are going to look for. And by the way, if you have an issue that you're trying to dive into, jump into CUbroadcast to see if there are others that have, shared trials and tribulations and
Yep.
how they overcame it. I know
Yep.
from the vendor side, we're quick to jump onto the podium to always talk about, how we can fix things. But the
For sure.
storytelling coming from the CU, I think, is so powerful. And you're right. It does make the world go round, because what one credit union is experiencing, most likely there's somebody else that is going through something very, very similar. And by helping each other out, we can get through it. If I had to put you on the spot, Mike, and I know that you're not supposed to have favorites, 8,000 or more than 8,000 interviews, they're all your children, they're all supposed to be equally loved. Tell me about one or two of just highlights that stick out for you
Oh gosh.
as, here are one or two that were just, these were interesting. Either it could be just the level of the individual, it could be the information that was shared. What are one or two moments? And I know I'm asking you to boil an ocean into one or two from over 8,000. What a jerk I am for doing that. But there's got to be
No.
a couple in there that are
Yeah.
sitting at the top of the totem pole.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, the problem solution results type interviews are really cool. The leadership, the thought leadership type of stuff is really cool. And then sometimes you get a celebrity coming on to share their expertise and stuff. So those are always a lot of fun. Well, there's one that really kind of stands out to me, and it's actually from the vendor side. It's from the folks at BankJoy. Mike Duncan, if anybody out there knows Mike Duncan, he's such a super cool guy, just most humble person on planet Earth. I mean, he really fits the mold of credit unions. So just a super nice guy, super, super smart. But he actually came up with the idea to do kind of like a carpool karaoke type of thing. Or maybe at the time, Jerry Seinfeld had this, what was it, comedians? Coffee and
Comedians
cars
in
or something like that?
cars getting coffee or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
something like that. So he wanted to mimic something like that where he could kind of display their mobile app. It was called Joy. And where you could do all sorts of really cool things through your credit union through this app. And so he wanted to rent a car, drive around and do an interview in a car. And then he could demo Joy, and then we could just talk and have a good time. And so we flew out to San Diego. He rented a car. I went down and we just drove around if anybody's been to Coronado, the little island right off of San Diego where the Hotel Del is and stuff. So we drove around the Coronado Island for like a half hour or so and did this interview, and he demoed Joy and we talked, and hands down was one of my favorite interviews. Yeah, if you just do a little search for it, but I think I entitled it a Joyride or something like that. Joyride with Mike Duncan. So yeah, so that one stood out as one of my, because I was so nervous about the production value, because I had to get like 3 or 4 different like GoPro cameras and get a special mic. So I was really nervous about the interview. Went great, but I was like, oh my gosh, I hope this comes
How's this
out.
going to work?
Yeah. So it was another one of these things. Hey, let's see if this works. So, but and it worked out
Shout out
great.
to Mike Duncan. Shout out to that tool. It sounds like a very good tool. And what a creative idea to jump in and do that. Now, I imagine it might be a little bit easier if we jumped into a Waymo where there's no driver, and that way
Now you can do, yeah. Now we can do it much easier.
So maybe that's the trick.
And this was quite a while ago too. This is probably 2015, maybe something like that, 16, somewhere in there. So yeah, so this is a little ways ago, but that still stands out as one of my favorites. And kudos to Mike for coming up with the idea, and then we just kind of brainstormed and expanded on it. And I said, yeah, I'll get all the equipment and put it together, and fingers crossed and lots of prayers, and it came out really, really well. We was really, really happy with it.
I love it. Well, I got to check one of those out. I have not seen it, and Joyride is going to be. Please. And maybe, you know what we'll do? We'll post a link onto this as well if anybody wants to take a look at it. Because I think the more creative you could be when it comes to communication, the better the chance, right?
Yeah.
First, if you do something that is unique or more unique, because like you said, at the time, maybe Jerry Seinfeld was doing it. It's a clever play on, what is it? The card karaoke thing that the late night shows would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you can introduce a little bit of fun with work, does it really become work at that point? And I think that's the whole, idea behind making it a little bit playful. And so, maybe this hopefully spurs some ideas to teams that if you're doing a training, if you're trying to, kind of consume some documentation, some new SOPs that have been delivered, make it fun. Make it engaging. Make it a good time for the team, and the team will buy in, and it becomes the favorite even 10 years after the fact.
Precisely, and you'll always have those memories. Oh my gosh, yeah. And then it's so much more fun that way. Work should be a little bit of fun.
I can't even believe the amount of giggling that you guys must have done, and that driver driving around for 30 minutes must have thought that this was the funniest ride.
Well, it was Mike. Mike was driving, and I was sitting in the passenger seat.
He was the driver.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so it was he was on 10 and 2. He was good. I was the one directing all the little cameras and stuff like that. So yeah, so it was all safe. Yeah.
Right on. Well, now that, fast forwarding to 2025, now that there is different technology, Waymo wasn't around, 10 years ago, some of the things that we're even talking about, you mentioned AI before, the 2 letters of the alphabet that are probably used the most over the last 12 to 18 months.
No doubt.
You also mentioned fraud very casually before as being one of the top areas. I agree with you. That seems to be, in the top 3 of buzzwords and topics that are being said, virtually as well as live in events. What are you hearing on the street? What are the topics that you're most coming up to? And I believe that those are 2 that are big ones, but share a few of your insights that you've been gathering with some of the conversations you've had with leaders across the industry.
Yeah, I just had an interview with the timing of this is kind of uncanny because I just had an interview with somebody, Creighton this morning, who's really leveraging AI. And yeah, they're really getting going with it, doing some super practical, really effective type stuff. But it kind of hit me on the head. It just dawned on me that they're leveraging the strengths of AI and then leveraging the strengths of human. And the both things are complementing each other really, really well. They're using AI to really automate a lot of their processes and procedures, that type of stuff, especially this one had to do with lending. And so they're really leveraging it. And then it allows the human element to really kind of go dig in. And if there's anything super complicated or any in-depth issues that need, or the member needs a bit more help, or it's somebody who may not have the ideal credit score, it allows the human element to come in there and really use its strength. So it kind of gives me goosebumps a little bit right now. So I think that's the kind of the balance that we're getting at right now. Because obviously during COVID, digital went way over here. But so now the pendulum's coming back to more, okay, how do we get more human? How do we keep the digital that we enjoyed so much, but how do we get more human in there? So, and I just found this particular credit union really exemplified that. And that got me excited that we're not losing touch, but the digital is still there and the human's still there. And they found this balance that works really well for them kind of in the lending arena. So I found that really inspiring and really, promising for other credit unions to do the same thing, which I think will get a lot of people off the fence because they don't want to go too digital. So yeah.
Kudos to them for diving into the technology and learning it. Funny that you mentioned you had this conversation earlier today. Very similar conversation where we were talking about the use of AI or just technology in general. And there are 2 ways that it could be, disseminated, which is, technology coming in to replace a job or technology coming in to enhance a job. And so we were poking fun at those cue card signature cards that we would have to, alphabet and file at the end of the day. Well, because of technology, we don't have to do that. Well, it didn't mean that now tellers were abolished as a role. Right. It just meant the activity is now no longer one of those activities that you need to do. But the good news is that now you can do a different activity. Because I got to tell you, the last 45 minutes of my day alphabetizing 200 cue cards was not the fun 45 minutes of the day. Nor was anybody able to take a half step back and kind of creatively think of new process or new things to do. And I think that's where the spirit of that humanity comes in. And yes, leverage technology to make your life easier, work faster, do things smarter, but then take the half step back where humanity's creativity or just kind of assessment of what that is, I don't think can be replicated today, right? The imperfect perfection of humanity. Sometimes the imperfections is what makes us unique, and those are the fun things to get involved.
Well, and the icing on the cake on this one, Michael, is that they've not let anybody go. So everyone's still employed.
There you go.
They've reallocated people here in more, more meaningful positions rather than doing mundane automated work, all day long. So now the employees are much happier because they can really kind of dig into the weeds and help these members who might be in a jam or something like that. So not only does the technology help the credit union operate more efficiently, the staff are more happy. So, because they're actually, it gives their job more meaning, I guess, to get in there and help these folks, help these members live a better financial life. So yeah, so there's a lot of upside here for sure.
Right on. Look, transitioning to that, and I think that is the goal of every single credit union. I think it's also the goal of every vendor, every side supporting cast member in this industry, including yourself and CUbroadcast. There's been a looming, kind of topic that I've been, kind of ringing the bell quite a bit, and that's the generational challenge, not just with technology and communication, but also the succession planning of many credit unions. It feels like mergers and acquisitions tend to be the go-to, kind of magic pill to take to cure all things that ail. You've been to a lot of different events. You've spoken to a lot of different people. Let's take a quick little sidebar about, the credit union industry, succession planning, kind of their demographics, where you're having conversations with the generational challenges, both internally and externally. I'd love to get your take on it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a second, Michael, because obviously there are a lot of big issues in the industry. We mentioned a couple of them. Obviously, fraud is a mega big one. The mergers and acquisitions, very polarizing topic in our industry. The regulations, a huge deal right now with interchange and things like that. There's the list goes on, but my biggest one, and not that I'm, bring those other ones down to a level, but the one I'm more cognizant about, if that's a good word to use for this, is the credit union industry has to get younger membership wise. We have to get younger because the average age for a credit union is hovering around 50 or so, late 40s, early 50s. Okay, share with me an industry that's sustainable with an age group that high. So that's a really big deal for me. And I keep calling it that credit unions, I've kind of coined the term, maybe somebody else used it, but I call it a member succession plan. So you speak about a succession plan. There's the CEO succession plan that we talk about so much these days, or the leadership succession plan in credit unions and other organizations that is so prevalent today. What about a membership succession plan where we can really, given an extra, I'm sure many credit unions out there are giving it their all to get these younger members in the door that are going to Chime and SoFi and all these other neobanks and stuff like that. So, that's kind of what I want to see, or that's kind of, if I think we talked about it before, like on the rehearsal or the pre-call or whatever. It said, if I could be president of Credit Union Land, that would be my platform, so to speak, is how we can get this industry younger membership wise. So, because if we want to be around in the next 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years, we got to get those younger members in the door. So, a 50-year-old customer base, not sustainable.
I totally agree. And by the way, for everybody listening, that metric is going higher and higher every year.
Yes, it is.
The average age is going up. It's not going down. And so right. To your point, Mike, it definitely is one of those alarm bells that needs to ring, because all we need to do is just advance the clock 5 more years. And this becomes a very scary number. And advance the clock 5 more years with the amount of M&A activity that's happening.
No doubt. Got that too.
And it also becomes a much smaller world for everybody in CU land. Do you think the industry is doing enough to market or to reach out and listen to younger potential members and to acquire them?
I think they're trying. I think there are others who are giving it. I mean, obviously, like the university-based credit unions have a kind of a leg up in this area because their membership is obviously, their target is much younger, obviously, and they are much younger. But overall, I mean, obviously we can do more of anything. So I'm of the mind that you can never have too much of, fraud fighting tools or, just advancing in technology. But yeah, I mean, I've done stories with credit unions out there that are doing some phenomenal things to get younger. So yeah, there are, and that's kind of the reason why I do what I do, is because I want to spread that message to others who might be having some issues in this area. So like, oh my gosh, how do we get young? Oh, ABC Credit Union down over here, they're doing some really cool stuff. Let's go check with them, type of thing. So yeah, I mean, we can always do more of anything. But yeah.
For sure. I think the first name that comes to mind is Terry Robinson, the CEO of Ironworkers, who's done a tremendous job with her and her team to acquire more members within the SEG, the original SEG of Ironworkers, just, kind of looking now nationwide as opposed to just state. And so that was a big transition for her. But, to be able to acquire within the SEG is a tremendous amount of effort. And it's been paying off for them quite a bit to be able to see. My soapbox has been to really chip away at the payday lenders. I think
Another good one.
The payday lenders have done such a great job of utilizing technology, on these little devices, making it so easy to acquire a loan, repay a loan, reload up without having a single conversation, just a couple of taps on the button, and you get everything that you need. And I think that sometimes goes counter to the credit union culture, where they want that relationship, they want that deep level conversation. And in spite of that, what they're doing is they're allowing a lot of the younger generation to just go down that road of self-cure.
For sure.
The relationships are not the same, and so I do think that a lot of credit unions need to be able to pivot where they're embracing technology. And just because there isn't the traditional conversation that happens in branch, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have a relationship with the individual.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a vicious cycle, man. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that story a lot. Yep.
Oh, man, if every CU leader listening out here did one thing, in their interviews that you were listening to help future-proof their membership base, what would you challenge them to do? Because I think you're onto something here about we got to get younger as a membership. What would you throw out there?
Well, I mean, a lot of credit unions and a vast majority do this already, but just those member stories that really, I don't want to say tug on your heartstrings, but just show a solution. It doesn't, you don't have to be in debt $100,000 and then get out of debt and then buy a house. Those are great stories, obviously. And to have a credit union be the foundation of that story is awesome, and keep doing those stories. But I mean, just somebody who's helping somebody, I don't know, plan for retirement or saving for their kids to go to college, simple things where you can show how you've made a difference. Showing how, I learned a term a few years ago, and it's, show me you know me. So show your members that you know them, and then illustrate it by sharing these member stories, whether it's you're talking to the member or interviewing them or whatever, So I think those are very, very effective, because from my perspective, CUbroadcast, our audience resonates or reacts very well with peer-related stories. Credit unions doing some really cool things, so other credit unions can emulate that. So with a credit union, okay, here's a member doing something super cool that the credit union helped out with. So there's a member peer-related story that many members can relate to. And so, oh my gosh, so what are they going to do? They're going to go to your credit union for that type of help. And I keep calling it, a lot of people call, a credit union really wants to be their primary financial institution. I call it, why don't you be your primary financial resource? Because there's so many areas that a credit union can help out a consumer these days, and especially their members. So yeah, so I say share as many stories as you can about how you are helping your members. I think it's pretty much, I mean, I'm not a marketing expert or anything like that. I'm sure there's more to it than that, but again, we go back to the stories make the world go round. So everybody relates to a story in some form or fashion.
I am hoping that when I click onto every credit union website that's out there, I'm hoping to find the Show Me You Know Me page, where, or we'll call it the Mike Lawson page on the credit union site, of all of these stories to help members be able to walk through. And you're right. I don't need to wait until I'm 100 pounds overweight in order to lose the weight. I could lose the 10 that I really want to get off and champion and celebrate the 10 that I have to do. It doesn't always have to be the big stories. Sometimes the easy ones like saving for retirement, super easy, right?
Yeah. Or investing or something, because I'm such a neophyte at investing. So I need all the help I can get in that area. So something like that would just, be a huge benefit. I mean, especially for goofballs simple. Like me. Yeah.
Although I did see a TikTok, and the person talking was at the ripe age of maybe 21, 22, and there were only 3 tips that he had to master the stock market. And silly me, I didn't realize that there were only 3 tips to master the stock market, but hopefully
Is he a billionaire? Is that 21-year-old a billionaire now?
For sure he is, Mike.
And then why would he bother doing TikToks after that?
Exactly. His only goal is to share his wealth with the world.
Exactly.
For sure. I've seen this too. He's also selling some beachfront property in the desert.
In Arizona? Yeah.
Exactly. So Mike, as we come to a wrap up here, I'd love to get your thoughts. Looking ahead, what is next for CU Broadcast? Because I got to tell you, I'm a fan. I click into the site a lot. I see what it is that you're doing. Tell us what's next. What's happening?
Oh gosh, wow, that's a deep. That's probably the hardest question you've asked here, Michael.
Yeah, that's my Walter Cronkite, and then that's about as far as I go.
Well done, sir. Well done. I really enjoy kind of expanding the live version of CU Broadcast, if you will. Our studio lounges that we do at various conferences. We went to the Eltropy one earlier this year, and that was a ton of fun. So I really enjoy doing those, more live casting. I love doing live stuff because you're walking on a tightrope and you never know what's going to happen. And so that type of stuff really excites me. So I want to do more live casting. So we'll stay tuned for that type of stuff. So we enjoy doing that. And and just more. I love doing live stuff. So I want to do more. So you guys will be seeing more live.
Well, are you headed to any conferences coming up over the next back half of the year? We're doing this in July. And by the way, happy post 4th to you and your family.
Yes, and you as well. It
was a fun weekend. But are you doing anything for the next 5 months to close out 2025?
Well, speaking of which, Michael, I'm heading over to Sweden in a few days for the World Credit Union conference in Stockholm. That's going to be really exciting. I've never been to that part of the world before, so it'll be fun. But and that conference in particular is really an eye-opener for me ever since I started going. I think my first one was back in 2016 or something like that. But it just really opened my eyes on what a global movement we are, how we all kind of share, a lot of us from all the corners of the earth, we all kind of share the same issues and dealing with the same trends. But a lot of us, we approach them from a different mindset. So it's really interesting talking to somebody from Australia tackling a fraud problem as opposed to somebody, one of the nations in Africa, or somebody in Estonia or Canada. It's really interesting to see how people approach the same problem or the same trend from a different part of the world. It's really neat to see. So that's really opened my eyes, especially going, because we're here in the States, we get in our little silos sometimes, and whatever happens beyond our country sometimes kind of falls by the wayside. But that conference in particular really opens your eyes to what a global movement credit unions are, and it's really exciting and inspiring, all those really fun buzzwords. But it's really neat to see how people approach these issues, these trends from different parts of the world. So I really enjoy that type of stuff. So yeah, that's right around the corner for us.
I am very excited about that. I think was it last year or the year before? I think it was either in Boston or last year was in Boston. So I'd missed that one. And so this year in Sweden, Mike, I can't wait to see the reporting that you do, the conversations that you have. I think you're right. I mean, banking worldwide is not the same everywhere for everyone.
That right.
I know internationally, many carry around the little dongle for the two-factor authentication, right? That little key. And so something that none of us would carry on a keychain in North America is standard practice in other parts around the world. And so looking at fraud, I think there's a lot of different colored lenses that people get to use. And who knows, maybe the next, creative idea comes from a credit union in Africa or in Europe or in Asia or even in Canada, and that it sparks the idea for a credit union here in the United States to be able to connect with their members more and to safeguard them so that way there isn't, a potential of fraud or a damaging event to the credit union members. Creative thing. Yeah.
And technology, a lot of technology wise, a lot of parts of the world are way ahead of us here in the States. So it's really interesting to talk to them about where they are, just talking fintech here for a second, where they are in their fintech journeys, and they look at us and they're like, you're still doing that? So, we got rid of that years, months ago, that type of, so it's really neat to see where they are and then how we as, North America or United States can adopt those new ideas and stuff. So so that's another reason why this global movement is so effective, and and then pile on the credit union mantra of collaboration and people helping people. You get to, there's credit unions, in Europe that will help American credit unions, so, and vice versa. So it's really neat to see that. So that's one of my favorite conferences. And there's plenty. There's going to be after Labor Day from September all the way up to Thanksgiving. There's a show every week, probably multiple shows every week. So we'll be at most of those. If I could divide myself, I would be probably at all of them, but there's only one. So we'll be everywhere.
I am looking forward to seeing you on the road. I know that we bump into each other at a couple of events at least throughout the year.
For sure.
And it is always so much fun to see you and watch you in action. If you're not emceeing, you're interviewing individuals. If you are headed to the global or the world credit union event, I will be the first one to say, go stop by, see Mike, shake his hand, have a chat with him, share your story. And if you're listening, share your story where the industry becomes stronger. I think that's where we innovate. And you have champions like Mike Lawson, who's been doing this for 15 years. And I can't thank you for helping snowplow the way for people like us to be able to do something like this. And I got to tell you, I give you all the credit in the world. I think, the first time that our team had said, we're going to do this podcast, the first person that anybody thinks of when you say the word podcast is Joe Rogan, right? The largest podcast on the planet. And I kept saying, there isn't a single person on this planet that's going to want to hear anything that I have to say. And I'm 100% correct. It has nothing to do.
Do not sell yourself short, Mr. Pupil.
It has everything to do with what you guys are saying. And so track down Mike Lawson. He is a stand-up guy. Mike, you've been a friend. You've been so amazing. A big thank you again for emceeing our event that we did
gosh, you're more than welcome.
In San Francisco. How much fun was that?
That was a ton of fun.
Great. And so thank you, sir, for sharing your insights and your expertise. I look forward to it. And hopefully I get to see a lot more of CUbroadcast over the years. It's always a pleasure, always an amazing time to be around. So thank you for carving out time, Mike.
You're welcome. And may I say one more thing, Mr. Pupil,
Please.
I've seen you in action on stage, and you are stellar on stage as an MC, as an interviewer. I'm getting to experience it live right now. You are one of the best, sir. So if anybody, you're really, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to come on your show as well. So, because I get to hang out with you for a little while as well. So, and I get to glean a little bit, how does he do that? How does Michael Pupil do that? So I'll take a little bit of tidbit from you and others and adopt that to my little.
What a compliment. When Ashish is going to listen to this, Ashish, I'm not working for the rest of the day because the rest of the day can't go any better for this. So we're going to have to bill Mike for the employment for the next couple of hours today.
Good,
Mike, what an amazing compliment coming from someone like you. You have no idea how well that is received and how humbled I am at it, because I still find myself trying to find my sea legs with all this stuff. But
me too.
What you said was the most important. Let's bring out the personality. Let's have some fun. Let's talk about this stuff. And then as the conversation happens, sometimes there is no rhyme or reason. You find the pot of gold in the conversation. And so I will conclude this with a phrase that you like to say. Let's see if this works. And so let's see if this works. Mike, thanks for joining us. For those listening or watching, thank you for joining. My name is Michael Pupil, Vice President of the Collections Department at Stay Connected, Stay Empowered. Mike, thank you, sir, and I can't wait to shake your hand next.
I look forward to it as well, sir. Thank you very much, Michael. It's been an honor and a ton of fun. Well done, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Eltropy Exchange podcast. For more insights and resources, visit us at eltropy.com. We'll see you next time.